Introduction. Asperger's syndrome is a form of autism spectrum disorder, ASD, that affects brain development. The disorder was initially identified and named after the Austrian pediatrician Hans Asperger. People with Asperger's syndrome sometimes have trouble communicating and forming relationships, and they also tend to repeat the same behaviors and hobbies over and over. Asperger's syndrome is characterized primarily by impairments in social interaction. Social cues, including body language, facial emotions, and tone of voice, can be difficult to read for some people with this condition. They may struggle to make and keep friends, giving off the impression that they are awkward or distant. People with Asperger's syndrome tend to be very passionate about one thing. A person can become deeply interested in a topic and learn a great deal about it. Intense concentration often leads to the acquisition of specialized expertise. Individuals with Asperger's frequently exhibit stereotypical and repetitive patterns of behavior. They may be very routine-oriented and resistant to change. Another common symptom is an extreme sensitivity to stimuli like light, sound, or touch. It's crucial to remember that people dealing with Asperger's have different experiences. While some people may only need little help to get by on their own, others may require more extensive care and special arrangements in order to thrive. With the right kind of help, people with Asperger's can learn to communicate more effectively and deal with sensory sensitivities and other difficulties. In this book, we will be looking into all you need to know about this disorder in order to raise kids with the disorder successfully. Chapter 1. The background and diagnosis of Asperger's. Asperger's syndrome is classified as part of the autism spectrum. It wasn't widely recognized until decades after its initial description by an Austrian pediatrician called Hans Asperger in 1944. Asperger himself first used the term autistic psychopathy to describe the unique mix of symptoms he found in his research subjects. The children Asperger studied had normal language development and average or above average IQ, but they showed substantial difficulty with social interaction and communication. And he saw that these kids had really precise, narrow hobbies, which they pursued over and over again. They also showed a marked preference for continuity of habit and environment, becoming easily unsettled by even little alterations. Asperger's syndrome was not widely recognized or diagnosed as a distinct kind of autism until recently. A unique minority of people on the autistic spectrum with features comparable to those outlined by Asperger became increasingly apparent in the 1980s and 1990s. Because of this, Asperger's syndrome was officially recognized as a distinct disorder in the DSM-4, which was first published in 1994. Qualitative difficulties in social interaction, confined and repetitive patterns of behavior and interests, no clinically significant delay in language development, and normal cognitive ability were among the DSM-4 criteria for the diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome. It is worth noting, however, that the identification of Asperger's syndrome as a distinct disorder was met with some resistance from those who believed it to be only a milder form of autism. The diagnostic criteria for ASD were revised significantly in the DSM's 5th edition, DSM-5, published in 2013. Asperger's syndrome was merged into autism spectrum disorder in the DSM-5, which did away with the diagnostic altogether. The revised criteria put an emphasis on the severity of symptoms in two areas: confined, repetitive behavior, and social communication. People who had been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome before the name was changed expressed confusion and anxiety over the shift. Some people worried that removing the title would make their experiences and difficulties seem less significant. However, the motivation for the shift was to foster a more standardized strategy for identifying and classifying individuals with autism spectrum disorders. People who were once labeled with Asperger's syndrome are now more likely to be given a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Evaluations of social communication, cognitive capacities, and adaptive functioning, as well as observations of the individual's behavior, are often used to arrive at a diagnosis. Recognizing and comprehending the traits associated with Asperger's syndrome have remained useful in guiding therapies and support for those on the autism spectrum, even if the particular diagnostic designation has changed. Our understanding of ASD and the challenges faced by those who live with it have been expanded because of ongoing research and clinical initiatives. Since Asperger's syndrome was included in the larger category of autism spectrum disorder, there has been a shift towards viewing autism as a spectrum with varying degrees of strength and difficulty. This strategy takes into account the fact that people with autism have different strengths, passions, and care requirements. The impact of the individual's social communication skills, repetitive behaviors, and sensory sensitivities on their everyday functioning are all important considerations in making a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. An accurate diagnosis and the right kind of help can only be achieved through a comprehensive assessment. Several people, such as parents, teachers, and healthcare providers, may be consulted during the diagnosis process. Standardized assessment techniques like the Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule, ADOS, and the Autism Diagnostic Interview Revised, ADR, are helpful in gauging a person's social and communicative abilities, as well as their confined and repetitive behaviors associated with autism spectrum disorder. Experts may also evaluate the person's intelligence, linguistic growth, and adaptability. Medical evaluations, the person's developmental history, and the presence of other disorders, such as intellectual disability or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, are all taken into account when diagnosing autism. The purpose of an autism spectrum disorder diagnosis is to help individuals and their families learn more about the illness and its symptoms so that they can get the help they need. Individuals with autism can benefit greatly from early diagnosis and intervention to foster optimal development and enhance outcomes. Although the diagnostic criteria and terminology for autism spectrum disorder have changed over time, the core features of Asperger's syndrome, which include social difficulties, restricted interests, and repetitive behaviors, remain central to an understanding of the disorder. Neurobiological and genetic variables that contribute to autism are still being studied by researchers and clinicians, along with interventions and therapies that can help people with autism realize their full potential. It's important to remember that both our ability to identify ASD and our knowledge about the condition are constantly improving. It is possible that diagnostic criteria and methods of assistance and intervention will continue to develop as new research is published and our understanding grows. The ultimate objective is to help people on the autism spectrum find their own paths to success and fulfillment within their communities. Some features and difficulties of living with Asperger's. Asperger's is characterized by difficulties in social interaction. Individuals on the autism spectrum may have difficulty picking up on and responding appropriately to nonverbal signs such as body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. They may have trouble striking up and keeping a conversation, and they frequently have trouble making and keeping friends. People with Asperger's may acquire obsessive, single-focused obsessions and engage in ritualistic behaviors like hand flapping and rocking. They may also have trouble adapting to new situations or altering their routines. Asperger's is also linked to heightened sensory sensitivity. Specific sensory stimuli, such as loud noises, bright lights, or specific textures, may cause increased sensitivity or aversion in people with Asperger's. Individuals with these sensitivities may learn to adopt coping mechanisms in order to deal with the distress that might be caused by excessive stimulation. Asperger's also manifests as in a person's inability to communicate effectively. Some people have difficulty with idioms, sarcasm, and other forms of figurative speech. They may have trouble controlling their volume and come across as shouting. Some people with Asperger's exhibit extraordinary verbal abilities, such as a large vocabulary or a deep expertise in a particular area. Individuals with Asperger's may also have issues with executive functioning. They may have trouble setting goals, creating to-do lists, and prioritizing their work. They could have trouble prioritizing tasks and switching gears between activities. These difficulties can interfere with learning, productivity at work, and general well-being. Despite this, many people with Asperger's share similar struggles. Social difficulties and sensory sensitivities can contribute to a range of difficulties, including anxiety and emotional regulation issues. Individuals with Asperger's may also struggle with attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, anxiety problems, and depression, all of which can make even the simplest of tasks challenging. Individuals with Asperger's can live satisfying lives and make major contributions to society if they are understood, supported, and given the right interventions. Many people with Asperger's have outstanding skills, such as a keen eye for detail, an excellent memory, and the ability to solve difficult problems. Individuals with Asperger's can flourish and attain their full potential if society makes reasonable accommodations for the difficulties they face. Individuals with Asperger's can benefit greatly from social skills training as a means of enhancing their ability to interact with others. Listening attentively and reading nonverbal signs are only few of the social skills that can help them thrive. Individuals with Asperger's can improve their social competence and develop healthier relationships with the help of clear education and opportunities to practice these abilities. Positive qualities and special skills possessed by people with Asperger's. Individuals with Asperger's have been noted for their keen eye for detail. They have a natural knack for picking up on minute details and complicated patterns that could otherwise go unnoticed. They succeed in professions that need accuracy, like mathematics, programming, and scientific study, because of their heightened attention to detail. People with Asperger's tend to have excellent memories. Their ability to store and retrieve huge volumes of data with incredible precision makes them potentially priceless in many fields. Their ability to memorize and recall large amounts of information is useful in any profession, especially history, literature, and other fields. Intense attention and concentration is another strength often seen in people with Asperger's. Many people with this disorder are able to focus intently for long periods of time and develop a profound interest in a narrow topic. When someone dedicates a great deal of time and energy to becoming an expert in a single area, they are able to achieve amazing levels of productivity and knowledge in that discipline. People with Asperger's are unconstrained by conventional wisdom and tend to approach problems and difficulties in novel ways. This unique viewpoint can inspire original approaches to problems and fresh ideas that can be used in the creative and business worlds. People with Asperger's not only excel intellectually, but also in their honesty and ethics. They have a reputation for being honest and forthright in their interactions with others. This honesty and openness might help people feel safe enough to open up and form true relationships. People with Asperger's may also have a strong dedication to their hobbies, and they frequently become experts in their chosen fields. Because they are able to devote so much time and energy to a single topic, they often develop very specialized interests and hobbies. Some people with Asperger's thrive when given definite goals and timetables to achieve them. Their dependability, consistency, and efficacy may improve in different contexts thanks to their capacity to stick to routines and keep a systematic approach to work. Although people with Asperger's may have trouble communicating and forming relationships, they frequently show real and profound empathy for others around them. They are able to read people's emotions because of their outsider's perspective and superior observational skills. They tend to have a strong moral compass. They have a strong sense of right and wrong and are dedicated to fairness and equality. They can be great agents of change because of their strong moral convictions, which motivate them to fight for social justice and equality. They often have extraordinary abilities to solve complex problems. Their analytical skills, along with their ability to spot trends and think beyond the box, make them excellent problem solvers. Because of their ability to think critically and rationally, they are able to approach problems in unique ways and offer solutions that others may overlook. They are extremely inquisitive and hungry for information. They are predisposed to seek out new experiences and knowledge. They may go on to make substantial contributions to the intellectual community as a result of their insatiable need for learning. Comorbidities and co-occurring disorders. People with Asperger's frequently struggle with comorbidities and other health issues. These supplementary difficulties may have an effect on their social relationships, emotional well-being, and even physical health. Some of the conditions that are often accompany Asperger's are discussed below. Many people who have Asperger's syndrome also suffer from GAD, social anxiety, or extreme worry. Social anxiety, anxiety about the future, sensory issues, and resistance to change are all possible causes of social anxiety. Comorbidity with depression is also common. Isolation, loneliness, and low self-esteem are common among people with Asperger's because of the difficulty they have in social communication and forming relationships. Having depression around might make normal tasks and interactions more difficult. Asperger's syndrome frequently co-occurs with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. In addition to the difficulties associated with ASD, Individuals may also struggle with issues of focus, impulse control, and hyperactivity. People who experience these overlapping symptoms may find it more challenging to concentrate, plan ahead, and stay on track. Individuals with Asperger's syndrome frequently struggle with sensory processing difficulties. Increased sensitivity to sensory input can cause either sensory overload or a desire to seek out experiences that stimulate the senses. A person's ability to focus, take part in activities, and handle everyday routines can all be impacted by sensory difficulties. Asperger's syndrome is often accompanied by obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. Compulsive or recurring thought patterns or actions may help people feel more secure or establish some kind of order in their lives. These repetitive behaviors can hinder daily life and add to the difficulties already experienced by those with Asperger's. Specific learning difficulties are another frequently encountered co-occurring disorder. Asperger's syndrome is sometimes accompanied by difficulties in language arts, numeracy, or executive function. Irritable bowel syndrome and other gastrointestinal problems, epilepsy, sleep disorders, and dyspraxia, difficulty with motor coordination, are all possible. Some people with Asperger's may also struggle with the aforementioned conditions, but this is by no means universal. They might also struggle with bipolar disorder. Those with Asperger's may go through stages of elation and depression, as well as times of high and low energy. Having bipolar disorder can make it harder to interact with others, make sensory issues worse, and necessitate individualized ways to therapy. Asperger's syndrome can co-occur with substance abuse and addiction. Substance abuse can be an attempt at self-soothing, social anxiety management, or relief from sensory overload for some people. They may also struggle with eating problems such as anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating. Treatment is more likely to be successful if it takes into account both the eating disorder and Asperger's symptoms. Tics, sometimes known as Tourette syndrome, frequently occur alongside Asperger's. Tics are recurrent, involuntary motions or sounds that can range in intensity from mild to severe. Motor tics, such as eye blinking and shoulder shrugging, as well as vocal tics such as throat clearing and word repetition, have been observed in people with Asperger's syndrome. Tics are a secondary sign of Asperger's that necessitate careful management alongside the primary symptoms. They may also struggle with falling asleep or staying asleep. Problems with falling asleep, keeping regular sleep hours, or getting restful sleep can have a negative effect on one's ability to function normally during the day. The experiences and difficulties of people with Asperger's syndrome and the aforementioned comorbid conditions may differ. Comorbidities may also have an impact on a person's ability to succeed academically and professionally. Academic performance can be negatively impacted by learning disabilities, ADHD, and difficulty with executive functioning, necessitating individualized educational aids and accommodations. The treatment of people with these comorbidities requires compassion, understanding, and an emphasis on each person's unique set of skills and capabilities. Individuals with Asperger's can learn to manage their symptoms, improve their social skills, and live meaningful lives with the help of proper interventions and support. Chapter 2. Communicating with kids who have Asperger's. Children with Asperger's often have trouble understanding and responding to nonverbal cues, such as facial expressions and body language. These nonverbal cues are often crucial for productive social interactions because of the abundance of information they offer. As a result, it can be difficult for children with Asperger's to understand the emotions and motivations of others, which can create friction in relationships. Because they tend to take things at face value, children with Asperger's may have trouble understanding figurative language, sarcasm, irony, or jokes. Their inability to participate in humorous banter may be a result of their tendency to take things at face value. Conversational skills, such as making eye contact, may also be difficult for them. Some children with Asperger's syndrome have narrow, repetitive speech patterns in which they only talk about things that interest them. They may talk at length on one topic without taking into account the listener's degree of interest or involvement, making it difficult to carry on a conversation. Their communication may also sound rigid or off-topic because they have trouble adapting to different contexts. Communication issues might be compounded by sensitivity to certain stimuli. Some children with Asperger's syndrome may have an exaggerated or decreased response to various sensory inputs. Because of these sensitivities, They may have trouble focusing on what is being spoken to them or understanding what they hear. They may also struggle with a variety of aspects of social communication, such as reading and responding to social cues. They may have trouble reading and reacting to social cues, which might hinder their ability to comprehend and adapt to new social contexts. As a result, they may have trouble making and keeping friends, understanding others' motivations, and working together during games and other group activities. It's vital to keep in mind that the severity of a child's communication impairments due to Asperger's can range from mild to severe. While some people may have mild impairments and improve their communication abilities with support and interventions, others may have more severe difficulties and need help all throughout their life. Children with Asperger's can enhance their communication skills with the use of programs including speech and language therapy, social skills training, and sensory integration therapy. We can aid them in navigating the intricacies of communication and establishing meaningful connections with others by giving them tools to interpret and apply nonverbal cues, comprehend and adjust to social expectations, and build conversational skills. They may struggle academically because of their communication issues. Problems with verbal comprehension and adherence, cognitive organization and expression, and the ability to grasp sophisticated ideas may all be symptoms. They may have trouble contributing to class discussions, working with others on group assignments, or asking for help when they get stuck. They may have trouble with both verbal and nonverbal communication, as well as with social cues relating to empathy and perspective taking. They may have trouble reading and reacting to the emotions of those around them, which can make it difficult for them to develop and sustain close friendships and romantic relationships. Because of this, they may have trouble understanding the wants, sentiments, and motives of those around them, which might hinder their ability to have fruitful conversations with them. Children with Asperger's may experience frustration, isolation, and low self-esteem as a result of their communication difficulties. They may feel that they aren't being heard or understood because of their inability to completely articulate their thoughts and feelings. These difficulties can make them anxious and make them less likely to engage in social activities because they may worry about being misunderstood or rejected because of their unique ways of communicating. Although these challenges exist, it is critical to acknowledge the communicative strengths that many children with Asperger's also possess. Many people with Asperger's have exceptional language abilities and memory for understanding things. They can improve their communication skills and self-confidence with targeted support and accommodations, such as visual aids, clear instructions, and opportunities for organized communication practice. Educators, parents, and peers all have a role to play in creating a welcoming atmosphere that values neurodiversity. Spaces where children with Asperger's feel accepted and valued can be created via the promotion of empathy, patience, and understanding. Children with Asperger's can overcome their communication challenges, reach their full potential, and succeed in all aspects of their lives with the help of effective interventions, accommodations, and social support. Children with Asperger's benefit greatly from speech and language therapy in order to overcome the unique difficulties they encounter while trying to communicate. Pragmatic language skills, such as reading and responding to social cues, taking turns, making and keeping eye contact, and speaking in an acceptable volume and tone, are the primary focus of these therapy sessions. These interventions help them develop skills in reading and responding to nonverbal clues, having meaningful conversations with others, and navigating social situations. Children with Asperger's can benefit greatly from social skills training as a means of fostering their communicative growth. They can take advantage of planned activities to hone their communication and conflict handling skills through these programs. Appropriate social behaviors and responses can be taught to youngsters through role-playing and modeling. Children with Asperger's may benefit from visual assistance in order to better their communication skills. Social stories, visual timetables, and cue cards are all examples of visual aids that can be used to convey information in a straightforward and actionable way. These visual aids help teach kids how to organize their ideas, stick to routines, and comprehend what is expected of them. When it comes to facilitating conversation, technology can be just as helpful. Children who have trouble finding the right words to express themselves may benefit from using augmentative and alternative communication, AAC, tools and software. Low-tech alternatives like picture communication boards and high-tech gadgets with speech output are both viable solutions. For kids who have trouble expressing themselves verbally, AAC systems offer a viable alternative. It is crucial for parents, teachers, and therapists to work together to provide children with Asperger's with regular support. A consistent strategy that reinforces skills in several contexts, such as at home, at school, and in the community, can be developed through regular communication and the exchange of techniques and progress. Children with Asperger's benefit greatly from being raised in comfortable homes. Every child with Asperger's is different, and so too are their communication challenges. Each person is unique and deserves strategies that take those factors into account. Children with Asperger's can learn to communicate, make friends, and live successful lives if we accept them for who they are, provide them the resources they need, and create a safe space for them to thrive. Advice for bettering their social and conversational abilities. Some methods to encourage their social growth are listed below. Making an organized space. Children with Asperger's can benefit from having a predictable and safe environment set up for them. Having established norms and routines can help children feel more secure and confident in their social interactions. Opportunities for interaction can also be provided by participating in organized activities like games or projects. Social stories and other visual aids. Visual aids, social scripts, and social stories can be quite helpful for children with Asperger's. These graphic aids make it easy to understand complex social concepts and procedures. They can teach kids how to read social situations and respond appropriately, making it easier for them to communicate with others. Social skills. Children with Asperger's need to have social skills explicitly taught to them. By reducing difficult social behaviors, they become more approachable and feasible. Teaching specific social skills, like turn-taking, active listening, or starting and maintaining a conversation, can be accomplished through role-playing or the use of social skills training programs. Fostering compassion and understanding. Children with Asperger's can benefit socially from learning to empathize with others and see things from their perspective. Involve children in conversations about the emotions and experiences of others. Push them to think about things from other people's perspectives and provide them chances to practice empathy in the real world. This can help them comprehend social dynamics more thoroughly and enhance their interpersonal skills. Fostering interactions between peers. Promoting healthy relationships amongst peers is crucial to adolescent development. Help children with Asperger's get involved in group activities, make friends, and learn to read social signs by guiding and supporting them as they do so. Friendships flourish when people are placed with kindred spirits who understand them. Learning to speak up for yourself. Help them learn to confidently and openly articulate their wants, needs, and boundaries. If they are unsure about how to act in a social situation, remind them to ask questions. They can gain self-assurance and learn to handle challenging social circumstances with the help of self-advocacy training. Keep in mind that every kid with Asperger's is different, so what works for one might not work for the other. Children with Asperger's need the patience, understanding, and constant support of their parents, teachers, and therapists if they are to succeed socially. The difficulties of reading nonverbal signs, empathizing, and switching perspectives. Kids with this syndrome sometimes have trouble reading and responding to nonverbal signs, making social relationships tough. Facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice are all forms of nonverbal communication that can transmit a great deal of information and emotions. Problems with perceiving and understanding social cues are a common source of miscommunication and misunderstanding for people with Asperger's syndrome. Having empathy, or the capacity to comprehend and share the emotions of others, can be difficult for people with Asperger's. Understanding and sharing the feelings of others requires attentiveness to their nonverbal signs. This might make it hard for people with Asperger's to understand the feelings of those around them and respond or provide assistance in an effective way. Perspective taking is another skill associated with empathy and nonverbal communication. The ability to put oneself in another person's shoes or take their perspective is called perspective taking. Their nonverbal communication of ideas, feelings, and intentions must be taken into account. Individuals with Asperger's may have difficulty understanding the intentions and actions of those around them because of difficulties in reading nonverbal clues. For people with Asperger's, these difficulties can have profound repercussions in their interpersonal relationships. Because of their challenges with recognizing nonverbal clues, empathy, and perspective taking, they may find it challenging to develop and sustain close relationships. As a result of not fully understanding the social dynamics and expectations of different circumstances, they may also feel alone and frustrated. It is essential to understand that these difficulties do not reflect a lack of IQ or compassion. Success in a variety of disciplines is possible for people with Asperger's due to their special abilities, such as meticulousness, reasoning, and laser-like concentration. With the right kind of help and accommodations, people with Asperger's can capitalize on their abilities and learn to work around their weaknesses in areas like reading nonverbal cues, developing empathy, and understanding other people's points of view. Occupational therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and social skills training are just a few examples of interventions that have been shown to be helpful in overcoming these difficulties. Individuals with Asperger's can overcome difficulties with nonverbal cues, empathy, and perspective taking by employing a variety of skills and techniques, in addition to formal interventions and creating supportive surroundings. One strategy is to actively observe and analyze people's interactions with one another. In order to better grasp and interpret nonverbal cues, people with Asperger's can benefit from thorough observation and analysis of these cues in a variety of settings. This may require recognizing emotions and social context from signs such as facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. Exercises in shifting one's perspective might also be useful. Thinking like the other person requires putting yourself in their shoes and trying to understand what drives them. Individuals with Asperger's can improve their capacity to assume and comprehend the perspectives of others by engaging in role-playing or hypothetical scenarios. Improving one's ability to empathize and comprehend the emotions of others can be aided by developing one's own self-awareness and emotional literacy. Individuals with Asperger's can improve their capacity to read and respond to emotional cues in social interactions if they are encouraged to identify and categorize their own feelings as well as the emotions of others through discussions. Chapter 3. Developing autonomy and self-confidence. It is crucial to help youngsters on the autism spectrum learn to be self-reliant and confident as they grow up. By fostering and protecting their individuality, we provide them the chance to learn valuable life skills, improve their health and happiness, and grow in confidence. Encouraging autonomy in kids with Asperger's helps them develop crucial life skills. By giving children age-appropriate tasks like cleaning up after themselves, managing their time wisely, and keeping the house clean, we equip them with lifelong skills. Having these qualities not only helps people become more independent, but also makes them feel good about themselves. They can also benefit emotionally and socially by encouraging their independence. They grow in confidence and competence when they are allowed to make their own choices, find their own solutions to difficulties, and carry out their own projects. As a result, they are better able to take on new experiences and challenges with confidence and a healthy sense of self-worth. Gaining autonomy is also important for developing healthy relationships with others. Skills like communication, empathy, and conflict resolution can flourish when children with Asperger's learn to handle social relationships on their own. We provide children the chance to practice and improve their social skills by putting them in situations where they can interact with others, make new friends, and have fun. Teaching kids with Asperger's how to do things on their own gives them confidence to speak up for themselves. They will be more prepared to succeed in school, social circumstances, and the workplace as a whole as they develop the ability to identify and articulate their requirements, preferences, and limits. Children on the autism spectrum who are encouraged to take on more responsibility develop a stronger sense of self and are more likely to express themselves creatively. When kids are encouraged to pursue their own passions, they grow up with a firm grasp on their own identities. In doing so, they come to appreciate their unique qualities and develop a deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the world. Fostering autonomy in kids with Asperger's also inspires them to make their own plans and see them through. We provide people agency by helping them realize their potential by identifying goals, developing strategies, and taking action to realize those goals. The development of intrinsic motivation and drive, crucial for achieving success in many spheres of life, is facilitated by a sense of agency and purpose. Encouraging autonomy in kids with Asperger's has also been shown to improve their emotional and psychological well-being. Young people can benefit emotionally by teaching them to take charge of their own lives, since it increases their feelings of competence and independence. As individuals learn to rely on themselves and build confidence in their abilities to handle a variety of situations, they may find that their anxiety and stress levels decrease. Encouraging independence does not entail sending kids on the autism spectrum out into the world unsupervised. Ensuring they are secure and sound entails giving them the proper amount of direction, support, and scaffolding. Finding common ground between independence and help enables us to give them what they need to succeed while remaining a reliable resource for advice and support if they run into trouble. Helping youngsters with Asperger's develop their independence increases the likelihood that they will grow up to make positive contributions to society. Individuals learn accountability and become engaged community members when they are given opportunities to make and own their own choices. They gain a sense of connection and purpose, and we get to see their individual abilities and skills on display when we encourage them to volunteer, explore their interests, or take part in community projects. Fostering autonomy in children with Asperger's helps them to adjust to maturity and the responsibilities of living on their own. They will be better able to deal with the challenges of daily life as they learn useful skills like budgeting, meal planning, and time management. Encouraging autonomy also promotes social integration. Teaching problem-solving and decision-making to kids with Asperger's. Having a well-defined and regular routine is the first and most important step. Having a consistent schedule and knowing what to expect can be very helpful for children with Asperger's. Teachers can help students learn to solve problems and make sound decisions by creating clear guidelines and standards. The stability and clarity afforded by this framework facilitates their acquisition of these abilities and their subsequent application. Teaching students to work together is another crucial component of developing their problem-solving and decision-making abilities. Explicitly teaching social skills to people with Asperger's can improve their capacity to function in social circumstances where they might otherwise struggle. Problem-solving and decision-making in a social setting can be practiced through role-playing, class debates, and other cooperative learning activities. Children with Asperger's can be taught to advocate for themselves and work together if teachers place a premium on open lines of communication, empathy, and the ability to see things from others' points of view. Fostering problem-solving and decision-making skills in children with Asperger's can be accomplished through encouraging introspection. Teachers can better prepare their students for adulthood by giving them chances to reflect on their own lives and the decisions they've made. Awareness of oneself and the ability to think critically can be fostered through journaling, self-evaluation activities, and guided talks. It's crucial to provide a welcoming space where kids don't have to worry about being judged when they open up about their feelings and experiences. Kids with this syndrome can better understand and digest information when it is presented to them in a visual style, such as a diagram, chart, or schedule. Problem-solving tasks, decision-making procedures, and self-advocacy drills can all benefit from the incorporation of these visual aids. Children with Asperger's can be taught to solve problems, make decisions, and advocate for themselves by providing a structured environment, incorporating social skills training, encouraging self-reflection, using visual supports, consulting with parents, and receiving positive reinforcement. Teachers can help children with Asperger's learn essential life skills through these methods, making it easier for them to deal with the problems of daily living. Helping children with Asperger's to articulate their wants, needs, and concerns requires teaching them how to advocate for themselves. Teachers can aid students in cultivating methods for assertiveness, self-expression, and self-advocacy that are tailored to their unique learning styles and communication strengths. They need to learn skills like how to ask for assistance, set limits, and express themselves clearly. Children can practice these abilities in a safe setting through role-playing and supervised practice. Teaching children with Asperger's problem-solving, decision-making, and self-advocacy skills requires a focus on a growth mentality. Resilience and a feeling of control can be cultivated by encouraging people to take risks, see failures as teaching moments, and have faith in their own potential for growth. Educators can foster a belief in continual growth and the value of perseverance by highlighting effort and progress rather than focusing simply on outcomes. Children with Asperger's can benefit immensely from creating positive peer relationships. Teachers can help students bond with one another by encouraging participation in group efforts and the use of cooperative learning strategies. Students with Asperger's can benefit from learning social skills, problem-solving strategies, and self-advocacy in a more organic and nurturing setting where they feel welcomed and respected by their peers. It takes patience, flexibility, and an in-depth understanding of the strengths and challenges of children with Asperger's to educate them how to solve problems, make decisions, and advocate for themselves. Teachers and parents may help these students become independent thinkers, strong advocates for themselves, and adept problem solvers by using a range of tactics to create a welcoming classroom climate. Chapter 4. Difficulties with sensory processing. Sensitivity to the senses is a major challenge for people with this challenge. Sensitivity to external stimuli, such as noise, light, touch, or scent, may be heightened in those with Asperger syndrome. Example: the ticking of a clock or the buzzing of a fluorescent bulb can be extremely distracting and overwhelming for someone with Asperger's. Because of their heightened sensitivity, people with Asperger's often find it difficult to function in typical social settings. On the other hand, some people with Asperger's may be sensory hyposensitive, meaning they are less affected by external stimuli. This may show as a desire to spin, rock, or apply heavy pressure to oneself. They may use repetitive behaviors to calm themselves down and control their sensory input. Asperger's syndrome is characterized by difficulties in processing and integrating sensory information. The term sensory integration is used to describe the brain's capacity to process and make sense of data from several sensory inputs. Kids with the syndrome may have trouble coordinating their motions, keeping their balance, or comprehending the spatial relationships between things because of poor sensory integration. They may have trouble with both fine and gross motor abilities, including writing, lacing up shoes, and catching a ball or riding a bike. They may also have trouble with sensory filtering and prioritization. When faced with too much information, it might be difficult to filter out noise and concentrate on what's most important. The sensation of clothing against the skin, for instance, might be distracting in a classroom setting when students need to pay close attention to the teacher's instructions. They may experience a wide range of difficulties with sensory processing. Some may have trouble especially with one facet, while others may have trouble with all three: sensitivity, integration, and filtration. Additionally, they may use a variety of coping methods to overcome sensory difficulties. Some may learn to avoid or alter their sensory experiences, while others how to calm themselves with deep breathing or by focusing on an enjoyable sensation. People with Asperger's may face additional difficulty in social relationships due to difficulties interpreting sensory information. They may withdraw from social events or perhaps shun them entirely if they experience sensory overload or discomfort in those settings. For those with Asperger's, it can be challenging to participate in conversation or read social cues when there is a lot of background noise from people talking or music in a confined space. They may have trouble tuning out the sensory input around them, making it harder for them to pick up on nonverbal clues like facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language. Problems with initiating or maintaining sleep may also be a result of difficulties with sensory processing. Because of their hypersensitivity, people with Asperger's may have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep if their sleeping environment is disturbed by things like noise or light. This can make them feel exhausted, which in turn can affect their everyday performance and general health. While impairments with sensory processing are often connected with Asperger's, not everyone with the disorder will have these experiences or display all of the symptoms. Since sensory profiles can differ considerably from one person to the next, it's important to treat each person's sensory experiences as unique. Helping people with Asperger's better regulate their sensory experiences and fully participate in life's many activities can be accomplished through the implementation of strategies such as providing quiet places, offering sensory breaks, employing visual assistance, and encouraging sensory regulation skills. People with Asperger's and other sensory processing disorders can benefit from a more tolerant and welcoming society if efforts are made to increase public understanding of these characteristics and the difficulties they might cause. Techniques for dealing with sensory overload and insatiable need for stimulation. Individuals with Asperger's may benefit greatly from learning strategies to manage their sensory needs and avoid becoming overwhelmed by sensory input. When the brain gets too much sensory information at once, it causes pain, anxiety, and even physical discomfort due to sensory overload. Sensation-seeking behaviors, on the other hand, include actively seeking out sensory input in order to control and satiate heightened sensory arousal. Creating a relaxing atmosphere might be a helpful coping mechanism. The effects of sensory overload can be mitigated by retreating to a calm, relaxing environment. This could be a specific room, a nook furnished with soft couches, or even a favorite outdoor location. Adjusting the lighting, decreasing the background noise, and decorating with soothing colors or natural materials are all ways to make a space feel more relaxing. It may also be helpful to participate in deep pressure activities. Hugging oneself, using a weighted blanket, or wearing compression clothing all involve applying pressure deeply to the body, which can have a calming effect. Persons on the autism spectrum may benefit from this little pressure in order to feel more at ease. Deep breathing exercises and other mindfulness practices can help them cope with overwhelming sensations. Redirecting one's attention away from overwhelming sensory inputs can be facilitated by practicing deep, steady breathing and being in the present moment. It might also be useful to make visual schedules or use other visual aids when dealing with sensory overload. Having a visual representation of your daily routines and activities might help you feel more organized and in control of your life. Checklists, calendars, and sensory cue cards are all examples of visual aids that can be used to help people deal with stressful situations. Preventing sensory overload requires taking frequent breaks throughout the day. Find a quiet place, do something you enjoy, or practice relaxation techniques during these intervals. These breaks will allow you to refuel and lessen the impact of cumulative sensory input. When it comes to managing sensory overload and sensory-seeking behaviors, people with Asperger's can benefit from improving self-awareness and communication skills. By understanding the warning symptoms of sensory overload, such as heightened agitation or discomfort, they can take preventative action. Activities that help you unwind and de-stress are a great addition to other methods of dealing with sensory overload. Listening to music, doing yoga or meditation, pursuing a hobby or passion that brings you happiness and peace, or simply spending time in nature are all examples of activities that fit this description. By implementing these practices in a daily life, people with Asperger's can take charge of their stress levels and improve their health. Specialists in occupational therapy and sensory integration can be a great resource for understanding and overcoming sensory difficulties. These experts can determine an individual's sensory profile, design tailored sensory plans, and coach clients on how to put them into practice. In addition, they can help individuals find healthy ways to process and express the sensory information they receive. Supporting sensory-seeking behaviors and preventing sensory overload can be aided by encouraging the use of assistive technologies and sensory gadgets. Noise-canceling headphones, sensory-friendly applications, and vibrating reminders are just a few of the tools available to help people maintain order in their lives and control their sensory experiences. Chapter 5. Emotional and behavioral challenges. People with Asperger's often struggle with social interactions. Small chat, starting and maintaining conversations, and reading social signs could all be challenging for them. They may experience feelings of alienation, miscommunication, and exclusion as a result. This can make them more anxious as they try to make sense of unfamiliar social situations and pressure to fit in. People on the autism spectrum tend to value predictability and consistency highly. The slightest change to their routine can cause them great unease. Meltdowns and other behavioral outbursts can be triggered by abrupt changes in plans or environments. Their inflexibility in thinking and unwillingness to learn new things can hinder their capacity to respond to novel circumstances. They sometimes struggle with sensory sensitivity. They may be overly or unusually sensitive to sensory inputs like sound, light, touch, taste, or smell. Commonplace things like large groups of people, bright lights, rough surfaces, or loud noises can all trigger anxiety or distress. Anxiety, impatience, or even physical discomfort may result from such a barrage of stimuli. Many people with Asperger's also struggle with executive functioning issues. Their capacity to initiate and complete tasks, manage time effectively, and deal with competing priorities may all suffer as a result of these difficulties. They might have trouble juggling multiple tasks at once, thinking creatively, or solving problems. Frustration, lower productivity, and other issues in school or the workplace may result from these challenges. They may also have intense, single-minded passions that they pursue again and over again. Hand flapping, swaying, and lining up objects are all examples of stimmying, a term used to describe people who engage in repetitive behaviors. These actions can help with relaxation and self-control, but they can also be distracting to others and a source of social difficulties. They often have difficulty controlling their emotions. They may have trouble regulating their feelings, which might cause them to respond strongly and erratically. They may have extreme emotional meltdowns that are hard to control or comprehend, or they may become overwhelmed by seemingly insignificant stimuli. Their difficulties in social settings and their general health can be exacerbated by their inability to control their emotions. They also struggle to express themselves. Because of this, they may misinterpret or over-literalize expressions intended to be ironic or figurative. They may also have difficulty with pragmatics, such as knowing when to speak, following the conventions of polite conversation, and modifying their speech to fit the needs of the audience. These obstacles can make it harder for them to express themselves clearly, which can increase feelings of frustration and loneliness. Another typical emotional problem for people with Asperger's is an increased sensitivity to criticism or rejection. They may want to be liked, yet they may feel judged or left out because of their social peculiarities and their inability to understand social dynamics. They may have heightened anxiety or feel like they aren't good enough after receiving feedback or criticism, no matter how well-intended it is. It is essential to create a welcoming and accepting environment that understands and accommodates the needs of people with Asperger's. People with Asperger's can be helped to thrive, maximize their potential, and live satisfying lives if the condition is better understood, if appropriate interventions are made available, and if acceptance is fostered. People with Asperger's may also have trouble coping with stress and anxiety. Anxiety can be exacerbated by factors such as the indeterminacy of social interactions, hypersensitivity to sensory input, and an inability to read social signs. They may experience irrational fear in response to particular triggers or circumstances, or they may worry excessively about the future. Restlessness, impatience, and bodily symptoms like headaches and stomachaches are all ways that anxiety can show its ugly face. Helping people with Asperger's manage their anxiety requires them to have access to support and coping mechanisms. Techniques for dealing with emotional breakdowns, stress, and emotional regulation. Establishing a habit and providing a structured setting are the first steps. Anxiety and uncertainty are typical precipitators of tantrums, although predictability and consistency can help alleviate these feelings. Establishing and maintaining a daily routine that includes realistic goals and objectives might help them feel more grounded and secure. Individuals with Asperger's can often benefit from designated periods of leisure to recharge and process their emotions, so these routines should include regular breaks and time for relaxation. Encouraging straightforward dialogue is also crucial. Allow people with Asperger's to talk about their problems and emotions without passing judgment. Make sure they have somewhere secure to go to talk about how they feel. By actively listening to them and validating their experiences, you can help them feel heard and understood. Investigate methods like deep breathing, mindfulness, and guided visualization for controlling emotions and relieving stress. It's important to tailor these methods to each person's unique needs and sensory preferences. For others, physical activities like walking or dancing might be more effective in relieving stress. It's crucial to understand and accommodate people's unique sensory needs. People with Asperger's may be hypersensitive to their surroundings, including sounds, sights, textures, and odors. By learning about and avoiding their sensory triggers, you may make their environment more comfortable and less likely to cause them to have a meltdown. Offering noise-canceling headphones, lowering the lights, or rearranging the furniture are all possible ways to do this. People with Asperger's may find it difficult to adapt to new environments, transitions, or changes in habit. Anxiety and meltdowns can be mitigated by providing sufficient support, open lines of communication, and a gradual introduction to new situations. Making a visual schedule or using a countdown timer might help people get ready for transitions. The relationship between Asperger's and emotional stability. Asperger's sensory sensitivity might have an impact on mental health. Some people with Asperger's have heightened sensitivity to or intolerance to particular sensory stimuli, like bright lights, loud noises, or particular textures. It can be difficult for people with sensory sensitivities to manage the stresses and anxieties of daily life and the sensory overload that might result from them. They may also experience co-occurring mental health illnesses, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, and mood disorders. When assessing and treating a person with Asperger's, it is often necessary to take into account the unique characteristics of both diseases. In order to provide holistic care and advance general well-being, it is essential to identify and treat such co-occurring illnesses. Although people with Asperger's may struggle with a variety of mental health issues, it is crucial to recognize the special gifts they bring to the world. Many people on the autistic spectrum have remarkable perceptiveness, analytical ability, and tunnel vision. These qualities are beneficial in the classroom, the workplace, and the creative process. Individuals with Asperger's can benefit from specialized interventions like counseling and support groups. Social skills training helps improve interactions with others. Occupational therapy can help with sensory issues, and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can aid with anxiety. Methods of treatments. The goal of therapies and available resources for people with Asperger's is to accommodate their specific requirements and promote their emotional and social growth. Treatment for Asperger's often takes a holistic approach, incorporating a wide range of methods to tackle the disorder's myriad manifestations. Therapeutic methods often include teaching people how to interact with others more effectively. Programs like this aim to help people talk to one another better, pick up on nonverbal clues, see things from other people's points of view, and make more friends. Common methods of practicing and reinforcing these abilities in a safe setting include role-playing and modeling. When treating multiple mental health issues at once, like anxiety and depression, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is frequently used. Individuals with Asperger's can improve their emotional regulation, stress tolerance, and general well-being by recognizing and disputing problematic thought patterns. People who have trouble with motor skills or who are overly sensitive to sensory input may also benefit from occupational therapy. Occupational therapists aid in the creation of plans to deal with sensory overload and give activities to enhance motor skills, including balance, coordination, and dexterity. Individualized education programs, IEPs, are frequently used in schools to help students who are having difficulty academically. Some examples of changes and accommodations included in these plans are giving the student more time to complete schoolwork or allowing them to sit where they feel most comfortable. People with Asperger's can benefit greatly from peer mentoring and support programs. These communities provide a secure setting for people to connect with others who understand their struggles and offer advice and support. Peer mentors, often those with more life experience, can be a great source of advice and inspiration. Additionally, there is a growing number of programs designed to help people with Asperger's find and succeed in the workplace. Workplace accommodations, career guidance, and skill development are all fundamental tenets of these initiatives. They hope to encourage autonomy by facilitating the acquisition and maintenance of gainful employment. Advocacy groups and community-based efforts have emerged alongside the expanding body of knowledge about Asperger's to provide further support. These groups facilitate access to resources, social networks, and volunteer opportunities. They fight to eliminate prejudice and increase acceptance of people with Asperger's so that everyone can fully participate in society. There has been a growth in recent years of online communities catered to people with Asperger's. These online groups provide a sense of community, peer support, and the chance to learn from and help one another. Blogs, podcasts, and webinars are just some of the many online tools available to people with Asperger's and their loved ones. Chapter 6. Positive Parent-Child Relationship. Parents of children with Asperger syndrome should prioritize building a close bond with their child. Raising a kid on the autism spectrum is difficult for any parent. The emotional health, growth, and development of your child depend on the quality of the relationship you establish with them in early childhood. Recognizing and appreciating your child's uniqueness is an important part of establishing this connection. The hallmarks of Asperger's syndrome are deficits in social interaction, communication, and the range of interests explored. It's crucial for parents to see their child as an individual with their own set of skills and weaknesses. Parents may help their children feel valued and loved by creating an atmosphere of acceptance, respect, and understanding. The ability to communicate effectively is also crucial. Children on the autism spectrum have difficulty reading social signs and understanding nonverbal communication, so it's important for their parents to modify how they talk to them. Clear and straightforward language, written instructions, and the use of visual schedules and stories are all examples of how this might be accomplished. Parenting well requires not only love and care, but also patience and empathy. Meltdowns or increased anxiety may be experienced as a result of difficulties with emotional control and sensory sensitivity in those with Asperger's syndrome. Understanding that their child may be feeling overwhelmed by their surroundings or having trouble regulating their emotions, parents should respond calmly and empathetically in these situations. Getting in touch with other parents whose children have Asperger's and consulting with professionals can also be very helpful. Parents can find a safe place to talk to others who understand what they're going through, gain perspective, and develop coping mechanisms by joining a support group or going to counseling. Children with Asperger's syndrome can benefit immensely from a more regulated and predictable environment, which can help improve parent-child relationships. Establishing routines and setting firm standards might help children feel more secure and calm. Parents have a crucial role in teaching and modeling social skills for their children with Asperger's, as these youngsters often have difficulties in social relationships. Parents can help their children learn social cues, perspective-taking, and proper behavior in social situations by participating alongside them. Parental involvement in their child's social development can be greatly aided through role-playing, storytelling, and social skills training. One way to strengthen the bond between a parent and child is to recognize and praise the youngster for any accomplishment, no matter how tiny. Asperger's children may experience a broader range of difficulties in areas like schoolwork and friendships. Parents can give their child a boost of confidence and inspiration by praising their efforts and successes. Both the child's self-esteem and the parent-child relationship can benefit from this kind of affirmation. Parents of children with Asperger's syndrome need to put in extra time and energy, learn more about the disorder, and be flexible in order to foster a close relationship with their child. Parents can have a profoundly positive effect on their child's growth and development by accepting their child as they are, communicating effectively, being patient and empathetic, creating shared experiences, educating themselves, providing structure, teaching social skills, and celebrating achievements.